As I've mentioned a few times through the course, any dependent files, such as textures or XREFs, should be located inside the current project. And when you link to a file, you should always link to something that's inside the current project. But sometimes, despite our best intentions, assets get lost or paths get mangled. Let me show you how to fix it when 3ds Max can't find the dependent files. I've got a scene to illustrate. I'll go to File, Open, and browse for 1015 Asset Tracking, and click Open. We get a Missing External Files dialog. This dialog is extremely dangerous. It's saying that we're missing a PNG file. Okay, well, what should I do? Well, we have some buttons down here. If we click Remove All, that is going to annihilate all references to all dependent files. So if you click that, you're basically going to break your scene irrevocably. So absolutely do not click that button. Then we have Browse. Browse is kind of deceptive, and it may lull you into a false sense of security. If you click Browse, what you're actually going to do is define a user path in the 3ds Max configuration. From that point onward, 3ds Max will go looking for textures and other dependent files in this special folder that you specify. Well, that's good inasmuch as it will load the dependency, but it's bad inasmuch that if that dependent file is sitting outside of your current project, you won't get any notification to that effect. So you won't even know there's a potential issue down the road. If you back up your project, or archive it, or move it to another workstation or whatever, then you're not actually managing all of the dependent files. Some of those files will be in some mysterious folder that you browsed for. So again, don't click Browse, it's super dangerous. The only safe and sane thing to do when you see this dialog is to exit without doing anything. You can click Continue, or you can close the window. They both do the same thing, which is nothing. And now the scene loads, and I have two boxes here. One of them has a bitmap texture on it. The other has a vector art texture on it. And I only got a notification for the bitmap texture. Unfortunately, for certain file types, you will not get a missing dependency notification. The only way you'll know is because your file doesn't load, or in this case, the vector art displays a placeholder image. To repair the links to broken assets, go into the Asset Tracking dialog. In the File menu, go to Reference, Asset Tracking Toggle. And that opens a dialog listing all of the dependent files and whether they're found or not. So you can expand these and take a look at what we got. We can see that both the SVG vector art and the PNG bitmap art are not found. Well, we can easily restore the link. We can select one or more of these documents and right-click and choose Set Path. And then that displays the path. We can then browse by clicking on this little button here that looks like 3 dots or an ellipsis. And we'll want to go, of course, into our current project, Scene Assets, Images. And once we've browsed to that path, then we can click Use Path, and then that path is displayed. So we can click OK now, and now that path is listed, and it says its status is OK. Now notice that we have an absolute path. It's displaying the drive letter. Earlier in the course, I recommended that you enable Convert Local File Paths to Relative in the Preferences dialog, and that way paths would be displayed as relative instead of absolute. If you did that, then this path would be displayed as relative after you save and reopen this scene. Or you could just explicitly enter a relative path. Let's do that. I can select both of these, hold down Shift and select them both, right-click, and go into the Set Path dialog, and just type it in. Or in this case, I can just erase everything in front of Scene Assets Images. So I'll just select all that and press the backspace. So we just need to enter in Scene Assets/Images, and we could type that in directly if we need to, but just click OK. And now that is the new relative path, and its status is listed as found. And we can see that we've got textures on both of those boxes. Now we've got proper relative paths, the files are found, and we can save this scene knowing that we've healed up the broken links. That's how to fix a problem with missing assets using asset tracking, and it concludes our chapter on materials.